Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT grammar questions out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 658. Page 658, and today is our lesson number 23. Let's take a look at it. These are a series of 18 questions, and since there are 18 of them, the first 6 are easy, the next 6, the middle 6 are medium, the last 6 are hard. The problems that we see on page number 658, they are all easy questions. As you turn the page on page 659, they are all medium questions. In the last few questions, in the series of 18 questions that you find on page 660, those are all hard questions. But the ones that we are about to do on page 658, they are all easy, pretty straightforward. Number 1, it says, directed by George Wolfe, the Broadway musical telling how tap dancing evolved. That's all we are interested in. As I always remind you, just learn the whole purpose of doing these exercises is to train ourselves how to concentrate on the juicy bits. Leave out all the others. That's it. That's all it says. It says the Broadway musical telling how tap dancing evolved. As you can see now, it should say telling. The Broadway musical tells how tap dancing began. The answer is A. Not telling, but tells. Answer is A. Next one, number 2. The question of whether certain chemical fertilizer fertilizers are a curse or are they a blessing? Is still being debated. We should have a lot of things here. This is A. I'm missing a lot of things here. Or are they? That's B. And then this is C. And this is D. What's the problem here? The question of whether certain chemical fertilizer are a curse or are they blessing, or a blessing. We don't need are they. Cross out both of those words. That's what's wrong with it. What is wrong with it? Typically we cross something out and we change it, we modify it. Here these two words needs to be simply eliminated. They're not required. The question as to whether certain chemical fertilizer are a curse or a blessing is still being debated. We don't need are they. That's all. The answer is B. Next one, number 3. The people which need something. Let's talk about this thing. What's going on here has to do with, now I'm going to have to use some jargons and some terminologies from the language of the grammarians, people who teach grammar. People who teach grammar speak of everything on the planet, as far as they're concerned, is broken up into two categories. Everything that we see there is either an animated object or an inanimated object. An animated object is something that has life. That's why the movies that you watch are called animations, because the way they run the pictures, the drawings, they run it so fast that our eyes begin to perceive those pictures as moving, and therefore they bring life to them. That's why they call animation. An animated object is anything that has life, and if something is animated, it is to be referred by who? People who need, not people which need. That's the only thing that's wrong with it. We don't even have to bother reading the rest of the sentence, because it doesn't matter what happens in the rest of the sentence. The rest of the sentence is fine, because there's only one mistake in it, and we found it. It's right there. It should say people who, not people which. That's all. The answer is A. The answer is A. Let's look at one more example, shall we? Let's look at one more example. One more example. The building who burned down yesterday was a historical building. The building who burned down yesterday was a historical building. As you can see the problem here, the building is not animated. Building is an unanimated object. An unanimated object is to be addressed by which? The building which burned down, not who burned down. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. The guy which died yesterday was a friend of mine. The guy which died yesterday was a friend of mine. Well, it was a guy. He had a life. Guy is described as an animated object. The guy who died. Now when we say animated object, it doesn't matter. Even if it were, instead of a guy, it happened to be, instead of a guy, if it happened to be a cat, it will still require that we say who. We refer to it as who. The cat who died yesterday was mine. The cat, we will not say cat which died yesterday. Many times people actually do that. They are wrong as far as the grammar is concerned, as far as the rules of grammar are concerned. Even a cat, a mouse, and a spider should be referred as who, not which, because they are animated object. Let's do the next one. And they are referred, everything is referred as an object, animated object and an inanimated object. Number 15. Number 15. The thoughtful student wonders what Patrick Henry meant when he talked about liberty, because most of the members of the House, most members of the House then having been slaveholders. Most member then having been slaveholders makes no sense. Most member then, not having been, but were. Most members, or if you like, most people, or most politicians, whatever you want to call it, the house of, whatever the house this is, I don't know how to pronounce it, they were slaveholders, not having been. So the sentence should read, the thoughtful student wonders what Patrick Henry meant when he talked about liberty, because most of the members of the House then were slaveholders. Were, not having been. That's answer choice D. Let's go to the next one, number 16. One challenge that Eleanor faced was, one challenge she faced was how preserving. As you can see, you don't have to read the rest of it. One challenge she faced was how preserving her identity. How preserving her identity. As you can see, the sentence makes no sense. One challenge she faced was how to preserve. Not how preserving, but rather how to preserve. That part needs to be changed, and that part was A. The answer is A. One challenge she faced was how to preserve her ethnic identity. We don't have to worry about reading the rest of it. It will be a sheer waste of time to actually bother with it. What was wrong with the sentence, we found it, and that's the end of it. One challenge she found was how to preserve her ethnic identity. That's all. Last one, number 17. No one objects to his company, even though he was making insulting remark about almost every member of the group. No one objects to his company, even though he insults everyone. The question is, why is it that no one objects to his company? Why is it that no one minds being around him? They go on to say the reason for it, as to why people do not mind being in his company. Now, if somebody were to, if you were speaking, the most natural word that you will expect to hear, the most natural word that your ears will expect to hear is will go something like this. Nobody minds, no one objects, nobody minds being in his company. And then you will expect to hear a reason. But before you hear the reason, the word that you will expect to hear is because, and then the reason, because he is a witty man. Or as they put it, he is a remarkably witty man. He is very funny, he is hilarious. So nobody minds being in his company because, not when. They have the word when here. Cross it out, it should require because. And that's D. No one minds being in his company because he's a funny guy. No one minds being around him because he's a funny guy. So what, he goes around insulting everybody? Everybody knows that he insults everybody. He's a funny guy. That's all. That's why. That's because. Not that's when. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Where we'll do the medium questions on the next page. Bye now.